The storm came faster than predicted. The Duke had ordered all outer gates sealed by nightfall. No travelers permitted on the western ridge. No exceptions. Lightning struck twice within the first hour. By the third, the cliffs began to flood. He stood in the watchtower, scanning the ridge through sheets of rain. And that was when he saw it. Movement. Near the old cedar bend. A horse had collapsed. The rider, still mounted, was barely upright. "Fool," he muttered. The ridge path was narrow, unstable in dry weather. In a storm, it became death. "Rope," he ordered. "And 2 men. You'll go yourself?" the captain asked. "Yes." "You could send guards." "Yes. But I won't." He did not delegate responsibility when lives hung in balance. The rain struck like knives by the time he reached the lower ridge. Mud swallowed boots. Wind tore at cloaks. Lightning fractured the sky. The horse was down. The rider was not moving. He slid the final descent, barely catching himself before impact. The rider lay pinned beneath the animal's flank. Small frame. Light. Not armored. He pushed the horse aside with effort. It groaned but would live. The rider did not move. He turned the body over. And paused. A woman. Her hood had fallen back. Dark hair plastered to her face. Blood mixed with rain along her temple. Her breathing was shallow. "Stay awake," he commanded sharply, gripping her shoulders. No response. He shook her gently. "Look at me." Her eyelids fluttered. Gray eyes. Clear despite the storm. "You are not from my lands," he said immediately. She tried to speak, coughing instead. "Who sent you?" he demanded. Her lips moved again, but the thunder swallowed the sound. She lost consciousness. He swore under his breath. There was no time for interrogation. He pulled her upright, slinging her arm around his neck. She was lighter than expected. The path up was nearly vertical now, slick with runoff. Wind nearly knocked them sideways twice. Lightning struck a tree not 50 yards behind them. He did not slow. By the time they reached the estate gates, she was shivering violently. He carried her inside himself. Not a servant. Not a guard. Him. Because he did not leave strangers to die, even if they were foolish enough to attempt the ridge. She woke in a guest chamber near the eastern wing. Fire crackling. Bandage at her temple. Dry clothes. His shirt. He had ordered it for simplicity. The door opened quietly. He entered without announcement. She was sitting upright. Alert. Watching. "You regained consciousness faster than expected," he said evenly. "I did not intend to die," she replied, voice steady despite weakness. Her tone unsettled him. Not grateful. Not trembling. Measured. "You were on restricted land," he said. "Yes." "You ignored the storm warnings." "Yes." "You nearly drowned." "Yes." "You show little remorse." "I show relief." Silence. "You crossed the western ridge deliberately," he continued. "Yes." "Why?" "I needed to reach you." He stilled slightly. "You succeeded." "Yes." "Who are you?" She held his gaze. "Does it matter yet?" "It always matters." "Then perhaps you should tell me who you are first." His expression cooled instantly. "You stand in my estate. You wear my clothes. You nearly died on my land. And you question me." "Yes." Her calm was deliberate. "I am the Duke of Ardent Vale," he said. "I know." The word shifted the air. "You know?" "Yes." "And yet you crossed my land." "Yes." "You sought me." "Yes." "Why?" She inhaled slowly. "Because you swore to destroy my family." The silence that followed felt heavier than thunder. He did not blink. "Name?" Isolde Marin. The name struck like ice. He did not react outwardly, but something in his chest hardened. Marin. Daughter of Lord Cedric Marin. The man who had forged documents 5 years ago. The man whose lies had nearly cost the Duke his title. The man who had accused him publicly of treason before the crown. The man whose testimony had forced months of investigation. The man who had died disgraced. "You have nerve," he said quietly. "Yes." "You cross into my territory." "Yes." "You seek audience." "Yes." "You use my storm." "I did not summon it." "You bear his name." "Yes." Silence thickened. "You should have stayed away." "No." "You should have sent a letter." "You do not answer letters." His jaw tightened. "You believe I owe you something." "No." "Then what do you want?" She did not hesitate. "Truth." The word echoed strangely in the chamber. "Your father lied before the crown," he said evenly. "Yes." "He accused me falsely." "Yes." "He forged accounts." "Yes." "He nearly cost my estate everything." "Yes." "You admit this calmly." Yes. Why? Because I am not him. Silence deepened. You share his blood. Yes. You share his name. Yes. You share his consequences. Yes. You do not share his guilt. No. He stepped closer. You think crossing a storm will change my position. No. You think surviving it earns sympathy. No. Then why come? Because you are wrong. The certainty in her tone shifted the room. Be careful, he warned. I am. You claim I am wrong. Yes. About what? About my father. The words settled like challenge. Your father accused me of treason. Yes. He provided false evidence. Yes. He cost me months of investigation. Yes. He died under Crown order. Yes. And you claim innocence. I claim complexity. Silence. You risk much standing here, he said quietly. Yes. You understand I despise your name. Yes. You understand I swore never to forgive your house. Yes. And you came anyway. Yes. Why? Because you hate the wrong version of him. The words struck differently. You defend a man who betrayed me. I defend truth. Your father forged documents. Yes. Your father testified falsely. Yes. Your father ruined his own house. Yes. You admit all this. Yes. And still you claim I am wrong. Yes. The certainty did not waver. You have courage, he said slowly. I have no choice. Explain. My father did not forge the documents. Silence detonated. He confessed. Yes. He signed admission. Yes. He died under Crown decree. Yes. You imply coercion. Yes. He stepped closer again. Dangerously close now. You tread dangerous ground. I crossed a storm. The line landed deliberately. You accuse the Crown, he said quietly. No. I accuse the man who stood beside you when the charges were read. Silence. Who, he asked. Your chief advisor. The room felt smaller. He handled the financial audits. She continued steadily. He presented the ledgers. He urged swift judgment. He spoke louder than you. You dare. I do. Her eyes did not drop. You think my own advisor forged evidence. Yes. For what gain? To weaken you. Silence. You think he orchestrated my father's fall. Yes. And why spare you? Because I was sent away before the hearing. To where? To a convent. Silence. And you returned. Yes. To accuse. To prove. You have proof. Not yet. The admission was calm. You come without evidence. Yes. You expect me to believe you. No. Then what? I expect you to question. Silence thickened. He searched her face for manipulation. Found none. Only exhaustion. Resolve. And something else. Not fear. Conviction. You should know, he said quietly, that if you are lying, I know, you will not leave this estate. I know, you will not be protected. I know, you stand alone here. I have stood alone before. The storm outside finally began to quiet. The thunder moved farther off. But something else had begun. Because if she was right, then he had sworn hatred toward the wrong enemy. And if she was wrong, then she was braver than most liars. Either way, she was not what he expected, and that unsettled him more than the storm had. The Duke did not confront his advisor immediately. He had learned long ago that accusations without proof were weapons that turned in the hand. Instead, he observed. He summoned no formal inquiry. He raised no public suspicion. But the ledgers from 5 years ago were brought quietly to his study before dawn. Alone, he reviewed them again. The ink had faded slightly. The numbers remained precise. Too precise. He remembered the hearing clearly. The Crown had demanded swift resolution. His advisor had insisted the inconsistencies were undeniable. Lord Cedric Marin had confessed within 3 days. Too quickly. At the time, the Duke had been furious. Not merely at the accusation, but at the humiliation. He had sworn never to utter the Marin name again. Now, that name slept under his roof. Isolde did not attempt to leave her chamber. She did not ask for comfort. She did not plead. When he entered the guest solar that afternoon, she stood by the window overlooking the inner courtyard. You are not restrained, he said evenly. No, you have not attempted to flee. No, you are aware you could. Yes, and yet you remain. Yes. Why? Because I did not cross a storm to run from you. Silence lingered. You understand, I am reviewing the old case. Yes. You anticipated that. Yes. You are confident. No. Then what are you? certain that the truth will unsettle you. The bluntness unsettled him more than accusation. You assume I cannot withstand being unsettled. I assume you prefer certainty. Silence. You accuse my advisor. Yes. You have no documentation. Not yet. You have no witness. No. You have only suspicion. Yes. And memory. Her voice shifted slightly on the last word. What memory? He asked. She turned toward him fully now. On the day of the hearing, your advisor visited my father privately. That is not unusual. He brought documents. He managed audits. He did not allow my father to keep copies. That is procedural. No, she said steadily. It is control. Silence deepened. My father was proud, she continued. He would not confess easily. He was cornered. Evidence was presented. Yes. Too swiftly. The Duke's jaw tightened slightly. You suggest coercion. I suggest pressure. Pressure does not fabricate numbers. No. But it can isolate. You think my advisor altered the ledgers? Yes. For what gain? To make you dependent. Silence. You were nearly stripped of your title. Yes. You were investigated by the Crown. Yes. You survived. Yes. But your authority weakened. The words landed carefully. And he remained at your side. The air shifted. You imply he gained influence. Yes. You imply he benefited. Yes. From my humiliation. Yes. Silence. You are bold, he said quietly. I am desperate. He stepped closer. You realize that if you are wrong, I will not forgive the insult. I know. You stand in dangerous proximity. I am accustomed to danger. The storm outside had faded entirely now. Only gray skies remained. You will not leave this estate until I conclude this inquiry, he said. I did not expect to. You are confined by circumstance. I am confined by necessity. The distinction mattered. That evening, he summoned his advisor privately. No accusation. No hostility. Just conversation. You handled the Marin case 5 years ago, the Duke said calmly. Yes, Your Grace. You insisted the evidence was decisive. It was. You recommended swift confession. Yes. You visited Lord Marin before the hearing. Yes. For what purpose? To present final documentation. Did you allow him to retain copies? No. Why? To prevent tampering. Silence. You were thorough. I am loyal. The word hung. You were forceful. The Crown demanded urgency. And you complied. Yes. The Duke watched him carefully. You remain loyal now. Always. Silence lingered. You understand, the Duke said slowly, that loyalty without scrutiny becomes blind. The advisor's eyes flickered faintly. I serve your stability. And if stability requires reconsideration. Reconsideration of what? The Marin verdict. Silence sharpened. The man confessed. Yes. Under your counsel. Yes. Under pressure. The Crown pressed us all. The Duke leaned back slightly. Did he request delay? Yes. Did you grant it? No. Why? Because delay would appear evasive. Silence. You feared appearance. I feared collapse. The words were chosen carefully. But something in his tone was off. Not defensive. Guarded. You would stand by that decision today, the Duke asked. Yes. Without hesitation. Too quickly. Later. In the courtyard again. He found Isolde seated on the stone bench beneath the cypress tree. You have stirred something inconvenient, he said. That was not my goal. What was? To free my father's name. He is dead. Yes. You seek posthumous redemption. Yes. Why? Because I carry it. Silence. You despised him, she added quietly. Yes. You swore to ruin our house. Yes. And yet you saved me. He did not respond. You could have left me on the ridge, she said. Yes. You did not. No. Why? Because storms do not choose lineage. The words left him before calculation could stop them. She studied him differently now. You hate my name, she said softly. Yes. But you do not hate me. The statement hung. I do not know you, he replied evenly. You know enough. Silence stretched. You are stubborn, he said. Yes. You are fearless. No. You appear so. That is survival. He stepped closer. You challenge my judgment. Yes. You question my past. Yes. You stand under my roof. Yes. And you do not tremble. She held his gaze steadily. I trembled 5 years ago. The admission shifted the air. When my father was taken. When our house was stripped. When I was sent away. I trembled then. But not now. Silence. You blame me, he said quietly. No. You do not. No. You do not hold me responsible. No. For enforcing the verdict. You acted on what you believed. And you? I believe you were misled. Silence deepened. The accusation no longer felt reckless. It felt possible. That was the danger. You should rest, he said finally. I did not cross a storm to rest. A faint, reluctant shift touched his expression. You crossed a storm to unsettle me. Yes. Congratulations. Silence lingered. Do you regret saving me? She asked quietly. No. The answer came without thought. She saw it, and something subtle shifted between them. Not forgiveness. Not affection. But fracture. Because hatred built on certainty was beginning to crack. And if she was right, then the man he trusted most had betrayed him. And if she was wrong, then he had allowed his resentment to blind him to a grieving daughter. Either truth was dangerous, but one of them was more dangerous than the other. The proof did not arrive as a confession. It arrived as a discrepancy. The Duke ordered a quiet audit of estate records, specifically the older shipping manifests connected to the Marin accusations. 5 years ago, the Crown had claimed Lord Cedric Marin had diverted grain shipments illegally. The ledgers presented during the hearing had shown mismatched figures. But when the Duke compared those old ledgers to sealed trade agreements stored in the vault, the quantities did not align. The trade agreements bore the Crown's countersignature. The ledger copies presented at the trial did not. The ink was slightly darker. Subtle, but undeniable. Someone had altered totals after documentation left Marin custody. And the only person who handled both estate ledgers and Crown copies was his chief advisor. The Duke did not react immediately. He verified again, and again. Then he summoned the advisor at dawn. The same study, the same desk. But this time, the ledgers lay open. You altered them, the Duke said calmly. The advisor did not answer at once. He studied the documents, then looked up. Numbers shift during audits. These were not audits. Silence. You replaced copies. I corrected inconsistencies. You fabricated them. The word landed without heat. Just clarity. The advisor's jaw tightened. You were weak then, he said quietly. The Duke did not move. The Crown circled you. They questioned your stability. They sought excuse to intervene. I provided one. You framed Lord Marin. I preserved you. Silence detonated. You nearly lost your title, the advisor continued. I made certain you did not. You forced confession. He was already vulnerable. You coerced him. I pressured him. You ruined him. I sacrificed him. The words fell cold and unrepentant. For what? The Duke asked evenly. For your authority. Silence thickened dangerously. You believe I required fraud to survive. You required decisiveness. You chose dissection. I chose protection. You chose betrayal. The advisor did not flinch. Loyalty is not purity. It is effectiveness. The Duke stepped closer. You manipulated justice. Yes. You destroyed a house. Yes. You bound me to a lie. Yes. Silence stretched. And you never intended to tell me. No. The air in the study felt thinner. You allowed me to swear hatred. Yes. You allowed me to despise an innocent man. Yes. You stood beside me while I condemned him. Yes. The Duke's voice lowered further. You do not regret it. No. Silence trembled. I regret that you discovered it. The admission sealed everything. The Duke straightened. You are dismissed. The advisor blinked once. You would remove me? Yes. You would destabilize your governance. No. You would weaken your council. No. You would sacrifice loyalty. You were never loyal. Silence landed like a final blow. You were effective, the Duke continued evenly. But you were not loyal. The advisor said nothing further. He understood. Guards were summoned. Not violently, but decisively. The study door closed, and 5 years of certainty collapsed quietly behind it. Isolde stood in the courtyard when he found her. The storm had long passed. The sky was clear. You were right, he said. She did not look triumphant. She looked tired. Yes. Your father did not forge the ledgers. No. He was pressured. Yes. He was sacrificed. Yes. Silence. My advisor altered the records. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. I am sorry, she said softly. For what? For the position you were placed in. The response unsettled him more than anger would have. You lost everything, he said. Yes. Because I trusted the wrong man. You acted on what you believed. I swore to ruin your house. Yes. I enforced that vow. Yes. And you still came. Yes. Why? Because hatred built on falsehood should not survive. The word struck differently now. You knew this could fail. Yes. You knew I might imprison you. Yes. You knew I despised your name. Yes. And you crossed the storm anyway. Yes. Silence lingered. He stepped closer. Not confrontational. Intent. I owe you apology, he said quietly. You owe me nothing. I owe you correction. The distinction mattered. You lost years, he continued. You lost standing. You lost peace. And I reinforced that loss. You acted in good faith. I acted in anger. Silence deepened. And now, she asked softly. Now I restore what I can. You cannot restore him. No. You cannot restore the years. No. But you can restore truth. Yes. The word felt heavier than any vow he had ever spoken. He studied her face carefully. You do not look relieved. I am. You do not look satisfied. I am not. Why? Because truth does not return what was taken. Silence. It does not, he agreed. But it prevents further theft. She held his gaze steadily. And what of your vow? She asked. The question lingered quietly between them. The vow. Never to forgive the Marin name. Never to allow their house standing again. He had spoken it publicly. Angrily. With certainty. It dissolves, he said calmly. You rescind it? Yes. You retract it publicly? Yes. You admit error? Yes. You risk pride? Yes. Silence stretched. You are different from what I expected, she said quietly. So are you. The admission shifted the air subtly. You saved me before you knew my name, she added softly. Yes. You would have left me if you had known. He hesitated. Only briefly. No. The answer surprised even him. She saw it. You would not. No. Why? Because storms do not choose lineage. He repeated the words. And this time, they meant more. Silence held steady between them. Not hostile. Not strained. Balanced. You despised me, she said. Yes. You no longer do. No. You trust me. Yes. The word landed without hesitation now. You believe me. Yes. Why? Because you never once asked for sympathy. You asked for scrutiny. And you stood alone while doing so. Silence deepened. You crossed a storm, he said quietly. You confronted a duke. You challenged authority. You risked imprisonment. Yes. And you did not break. No. He stepped closer. Close enough that the space between them felt intentional. You are inconvenient, he said again. Yes. And courageous. Yes. And honest. Yes. And necessary. The last word lingered longer than expected. She inhaled slowly. You are not the man I hated, she said softly. The confession was gentle, not dramatic. You hated me, he said quietly. Yes. For ruining my house. Yes. And now, I see the difference. Silence thickened. The past had not vanished, but it had shifted. And what do we do with this? She asked quietly. This truth. This history. This proximity. He did not answer immediately, because the answer no longer involved vengeance. It involved choice. We build from it, he said finally. Build. Yes. On what foundation? Honesty. The word felt unfamiliar and right at once. You would allow the Marin name restored? Yes. You would grant land? Yes. You would restore title? Yes. And you do this because you were wrong? Yes. And because you choose justice? Yes. And not because you owe me? No. Silence. He reached out slowly. Not abruptly. Not possessively. His hand brushed hers lightly. She did not withdraw. I despised your name, he said quietly. And you crossed the storm anyway. Yes. You challenged me. Yes. You proved me wrong. Yes. He held her gaze steadily. That is not hatred I feel now. She did not look away. What is it? She asked softly. Respect. The word landed carefully. Not dramatic, but powerful. And beyond that, she asked. He hesitated. Only because he preferred certainty. But this was no longer storm. It was calm after. Possibility, he said. Silence stretched between them. The hatred had been built on falsehood. And the truth had not destroyed them. It had freed them. And in that freedom, something new had begun. Not born from rescue, not born from vengeance, but born from standing face to face and choosing not to look away.